Boker Tov, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Yesterday we observed a fast day, something that's probably not well known to most of the Jews worldwide. In Hebrew it's called Shabbat Tammuz, or the 17th day of Tammuz, the Hebrew month, which directly precedes Tisha B'Av. 3 weeks later, we'll observe Tisha B'Av, which is a 25-hour fast in which we commemorate the destructions of the first and second temple. Probably the saddest day in our history. The 17th of Tammuz is the lead up to that period, because on this date, both the Babylonians in 586 before the Common Era, and then the Romans in the year 70 CE, breached the outer walls of Jerusalem, which would lead 3 weeks later to the destructions of the first and second temple, 500 years apart, but the holiest sites in Jewish history. And this 3-week period is a somber period, a time of reflection, a time of sadness for Jewish people. It's customary to not hold any weddings or any celebrations or concerts or joyous events during this period. Of course, the irony is, even though it's the summer and it's a time to frolic usually, because of the COVID-19 restrictions, the ones that are still in effect, we are somewhat more wary and we are being more careful. We can't go to ball games and we can't go to concerts, and people are still concerned about having weddings, and all that is understandable. But for Jews, it should be a time for reflection. Just as the walls were breached on this date, sometimes we let our guard down and things can happen to us and feelings can emerge. Feelings of confusion, feelings of sadness. I know myself, this has been a very difficult summer and a very difficult time. It's hard to feel a certain sense of positivity or morale with everything that's going on all around us. The confusion, the recrimination in our own nation, what's happening worldwide. But one thing I want to point out is that the sages always say that one of the things that led up to Tisha B'Av and the destructions of the temple were not the fact that we were fighting mightier armies like the Babylonians or the Romans, but the fact that as Jews we weren't united with one another. We turned on one another. In fact, during the siege of Jerusalem, people were starving. Things were so bad that neighbors were turning against neighbor, and you had different factions. You had some Jews who wanted to make accommodations and concessions with the Romans. You had some Jews who wanted to fight till the bitter end, zealots. And you had some Jews that were so determined to fight no matter what, that they would turn against other Jews, in some cases violently, that they suspected might be aiding or abetting the Roman authorities. We should never turn against one another, however difficult or dire the situation might seem. As Jews in particular, we have a lesson to show the rest of the world. We're such a small fraction of the world's population, and even in our nation here, we should work together, cooperate, collaborate as much as humanly possible. Only through that can we get through the most difficult times and challenges together. Just a thought and a wish that I want to leave you with on Erev Shabbat, and as we head into the 3-week period culminating with Tisha B'Av. I hope you're all safe and healthy. I'm Rabbi Michael Stanger, and this is my Friday morning 4-minute Vort. Be well.